project that I have developed for our EDAD 688 class is to devise a spreadsheet that the teachers in my building will use next year to collect data on student writing. Next year is a first year for a new assessment protocol that requires our teachers to administer on-demand writing assessments from the Lucy Calkins units of study kits, and then to use that information to plan instruction based on student needs. Now, the reason I actually devised this project and chose it to work on is that the particular building where I'm a literacy coach, actually the staff is quite inexperienced at collecting data and using data to evaluate and analyze student need, and then collaborate and plan effective instruction strategies. They just really are behind in that area, and this past year was my first year being a coach in that building, and I kind of got their feet wet doing it, but not near to the degree that it needs to happen. In addition, this particular school building is becoming more and more diverse, and there is a need to begin looking at our student subgroup population more closely, which has not happened in the past either. So my goal is to effectively help teachers to collect data, use that data to analyze strengths and weaknesses, including our subgroup population, and then use that data to collaborate together and effectively plan to meet the needs that it is indicating. So the way the assessment will work next year is that the 5th grade students will be taking, at the beginning of the year, a narrative writing on-demand assessment in which they write a narrative of their choosing, and then they use this rubric from the Lucy Calkins kits to score the students' writing in these areas overall, in their lead, in their use of transitions, in their conclusion or ending, also to score their organization of their writing, their elaboration of their writing, the type of craft that they used, and further the rubric reflects the spelling development that the assessment is showing and how well the student is using punctuation in their writing. So all of those areas are scored based on this rubric, and then each score reflects what grade level expectation that student is currently demonstrating in their writing. So if they got a score of a 1, that they would be using punctuation at a 3rd grade level. A score of a 2 would indicate they would be doing these things, which is a 4th grade level, and then 5th grade and up to 6th grade, and those are the point values that are related to those expectations. And then the rubric totals all of those point values up, and then that reflects what grade level the student is indicating they are currently writing at this time. Now, at the beginning of the year, a 5th grade student is expected to be writing at the end of a 4th grade level, so the total score there would be from the grade 4, and that's actually a score of between 17 and 22. That's a score that's indicating a 3rd grade level. So teachers will use this rubric to score student writing. But what I've devised is then a spreadsheet for them to enter all of those scores, and then that will calculate their total score, and will put them, this spreadsheet will automatically put the students into groups. So if they scored at a 3rd grade level or below, they are considered to be in an intensive range. They're below level. If their score indicated a mid-score between 3rd grade and 4th grade, they would fall into a targeted level. If their total score was reflective of what a 4th grade writer is expected to do, they would fall in the benchmark level. And if they were above a 4th grade level, they would fall in the advanced level. And these totals here actually reflect these colors up here. And so this part of the spreadsheet just gives the teacher a breakdown of her overall class. So at this point, and I've used just made up names and made up scores, this particular teacher at this point has 9 students in the benchmarked range, which is on level, 2 students in the advanced range, 1 student that's just a little below grade level, and right now she has 2 students that are in the intensive level. But the way the spreadsheet is devised, that I have devised it, is that there's also a column here where the teacher indicates what subgroup these particular students fall into. And if you look up here at the top, it shows you that a 0 is reflective of a student not being in a subgroup. A 1 indicates that they are in the IEP subgroup. A 2 indicates they are in the gifted subgroup. And a 3 indicates that they are in the economically disadvantaged subgroup. So this spreadsheet not only will give the teacher a breakdown of her overall class, but will also then further give a breakdown of subgroup information. So right now, out of the students that have IEPs in this particular mock class, 3 of them are scoring at benchmark, where 2 of them are scoring in intensive. Out of her gifted population in this class, 2 of them are scoring in the advanced range and 1 is scoring in the benchmark range. And then further, looking at any students that are considered economically disadvantaged, they actually, right now at this point, she has 3 of those students scoring in the benchmarked range. So let me demonstrate for you how a teacher will use this spreadsheet. She will come down here and type in the student's name. So let's pretend that this student is Al and his last name is Yono. And this particular student is in the economically disadvantaged subgroup, so this teacher would enter a 3 to indicate that. Then she will look at the rubric of scoring that she did with the student's writing and enter the values that he or she received. So this student received a score of a 2 overall. He received a score of a 1 in his lead. He received a score of a 1 in using transitions. He received a score of a 2 in his ending. His organization received a score of a 2 also. Elaboration was a 1. Author's craft, he received a score of a 2. Spelling was a score of a 2. And punctuation was a score of a 2. This student's total score was 15, which puts him in the targeted range overall in her class. So now this teacher has 2 students that are considered targeted. But remember, this student was an economically disadvantaged student, so it's also giving her this information that now she has 1 student that's scoring in the targeted range out of her economically disadvantaged students. So this spreadsheet will efficiently calculate all of that information for this particular teacher. In addition, at the bottom of the spreadsheet gives an average of how the students are doing in this class in each area of writing, so that the teacher can determine what is the lowest area where students are performing currently. So you can see that it's column E only has a score of 1.73, and column K has a score of 1.87. So those are her 2 lowest areas. They are E and K. So let's go back up here and look what those areas are. Area E is the use of transitions, and area K is the use of punctuation. So this particular teacher knows in her class those are 2 weak areas for her students. So this exact spreadsheet is the way it looks for each individual class. And then another added bonus to this spreadsheet is that it will calculate the totals of each teacher, so that as a grade level TBT, we can look at overall how are our 5th grade students doing in narrative writing. So it will give a total, and then it will give a percent of the entire 5th grade, how our 5th grade students are performing in writing. and also does a breakdown of the overall subgroup population. So the idea behind all of these spreadsheets is that we will use these as in our TBT meetings to, number one, identify weaknesses for our students and plan instruction to meet those needs. It will also help us to differentiate instruction for those kiddos who are struggling in certain areas, and it will also give us an opportunity to discuss collaboratively how we can plan interventions that will meet these needs. So I'm really hopeful that the use of this spreadsheet will lead us to that type of collaboration. Now, towards the end of Q1, I want to survey teachers to see what their overall feeling is in regards to the benefit of this spreadsheet. So I will be administering through Google Forms a survey that just kind of asks teachers how informative they felt this process was of using the spreadsheet, how efficient was using the spreadsheet, and what was their beneficial level that they felt using the spreadsheet. So I will be measuring the success of the spreadsheet in that way, but more importantly, I'll be measuring the success of this spreadsheet to look at, did we make a difference in students' writing development by looking this closely at their needs? And the way I'll measure that is that at the end of Q1, teachers will do this same exact thing using this spreadsheet, so we can compare and contrast where our students were at the beginning of the quarter and where they were at the end of the quarter. The technology standards that my project addresses are, first of all, Standard 3A, and by me just merely demonstrating this, I will be modeling the efficient and intentional use of technology. So that's Standard 3A. We also will be addressing Technology Standard 3B, where we will be using technology for communication and collaboration among teachers. This will address Technology Standard 3C. Our teachers will create and participate in learning communities that stimulate, nurture, and support our faculty use of technology, because we'll be using this in our TBT. This also reflects Standard 5B, using technology to collect and analyze data, interpret results, and communicate findings to improve instructional practices and student learning. And 5D, for sure, the survey is using technology to assess, evaluate, and manage administrative and operational systems, because I do want to find out if teachers felt that the investment of time they're putting into using this spreadsheet is resulting in growth for their students and is helping them to deliver more effective instruction. So I'm hopeful that this project will meet the needs of my staff next year and will help them grow in the area of using data to analyze student strengths and weaknesses, and also using data to reflect upon the effectiveness of our instructional strategies. And this will definitely take place when we compare our data from the beginning of the quarter to then the data that will be entered in a spreadsheet just like this at the end of the quarter. I'm hopeful that the needs I mentioned at the beginning of this video will in